unidentified anomalous phenomena, whistleblower David Grush blew open a discussion about interdimensional beings, touching on holographic theory. Let's listen.
In terms of multidimensionality, that kind of thing, the framework that I'm familiar with, for example, is something called the holographic principle. It derives itself from general relativity and quantum mechanics, and that is, if you want to imagine a 3D object such as yourself casting a shadow onto a 2D surface, that's the holographic principle. So you can be projected, quasi-projected from higher dimensional space to lower dimensional. It's a scientific trope that you can actually cross, literally, as far as I understand, but there's probably guys with PhDs that we could probably argue.
That triangle is what some have referred to as the soul or the id or the chi or the spirit, right? It is something that does reside inside the body, but is not contained necessarily within inside the body. And is it possible that consciousness is part of that process, that spirit, that thing that is all encompassing of what a human being?
Who is Jacques Vallée? What have you learned from him?
Jacques is one of the first openly active scientists, and he's really a scientist in this area, going back to the 1960s. He's put forward a number of ideas, speculations about what it might be that people are interacting with. And the other thing that people say, ships don't crash. If you're so technologically advanced, you don't crash. It's absurd that they crash. So he says this is put on as a show. It's an influence campaign, right? It's not meant to influence individuals. It's meant to influence a culture as a whole. Maybe they don't look at us as individuals. Maybe they look at us as an organism that lives on a planet, right?
And perhaps rightfully so.
And so that's how you interact with them. That's how you influence them. So that was one of the first things that kind of took me back and realized, wow, there's actually maybe there's a puppet master behind the scenes that's, doing this influencing, and that all this stuff about aliens is not true per se. They're just a representation of something that is meant to influence. So that was probably the most interesting thing. I mean, the man is brilliant. How would you, as a higher intelligence, represent yourself to a lesser intelligence? Well, let's go back to pre-civilization. Maybe you show yourself as the spirits in the forest, and you give messages through that. Once you get a little bit more civilized, then you show yourself as the gods. And then you're God. Well, we don't believe in God anymore necessarily. Not everybody does. So what do we believe in? We believe in technology. So you show yourself as a form of technology, right? But the common thread is you're not alone. And there's something else here with you. And there's something that's, as you said, watching you.
Vallée noted the similarities between medieval European stories of fairies, lutins, and kobolds, for example, and the short alien beings seen by abductees and other 20th century UFO witnesses. He also explored tales of similar entity encounters in European myth and Judeo-Christian demonology. All of these entities were known to occasionally abduct their witnesses and leave them with symptoms of paralysis, fatigue, disorientation, and amnesia. Those who accepted these beings' invitations were frequently taken to other worlds, or else reported missing periods of time that they could not consciously account for. To explain these otherworldly visitors, Vallée proposed the existence of a technologically mediated extra-dimensional intelligence that has operated throughout human history, masquerading as creatures of myth and legend in the witnesses' cultures. This intelligence, he suggested, has repeatedly manifested itself in the form of a technologically or spiritually advanced civilization, out of the reach of human technologies, and just outside the understanding of the witnesses. It has evolved its appearance to keep up with our changing worldview and ever-advancing technologies, but always represents what's just ahead of us in our vision of the future, or what's just above us in our conception of the hierarchy of beings.
And there is a great temptation to project onto that consciousness some powers that will explain our human experiences. So we call these beings gods or angels or archangels or demons, depending on what we think our relationship is with them. Clearly, if you look at the Bible, the Bible is a repository of many experiences of that type, and with an interpretation in a framework that is a religious framework. But other interpretations are possible.
The thing that Lou Elizondo told me, and that he's told this to other people, and he said it in the show Unidentified, one of the biggest things, surprisingly, that he ran into with opposition within the Pentagon, within the Defense Department, to the work that he was doing, is that there was a very large contingent of people that believed that this was a demonic force, as in demons, and that we shouldn't be doing it. We shouldn't be investigating it. We shouldn't be poking the tiger in the eye.
They thought the phenomenon that was being witnessed was demons?
Yes, within the military establishment, within the Pentagon, within DOD, there was a large number of people that opposed his work because they thought from a very, very fundamentalist viewpoint that we're dealing with demonic activity.
I remember the conversation very well. This is a person I respected tremendously, very, very senior person. He's told me, he said, Lou, I want you to stop doing this. I said, okay, sir, I certainly can, but may I ask why? And he says, well, we already know what it is. Now, at that moment, I honestly thought maybe it was our own technology. I was running up against some super uber secret SAP, and they were telling me to stop. And I said, okay, sir, so it's ours? And he said, no, that's not what I'm saying. And he said, he asked me point blank, have you read your Bible lately? And I wasn't quite sure where he was going with that. And I said, well, sir, I think I know what it says. Where are you going with this? And he said, well, then you would know that these things are demonic and we should not be pursuing them. Yeah. And he wasn't kidding. That's exactly how he felt.
So this is a Pentagon. This is a Department of Defense official saying, stop looking at UFOs because they're demonic.
Correct.
The recent James Fox film about the Brazil.
Yeah.
Okay. So love his stuff. He's great. This last video of his, Moment of Contact.
Moment of Contact, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Varginha, Brazil. There was a crash landing, and apparently there was a being that was running around a town for a couple of days that was captured by the military. Or two beings, rather.
This is in a Catholic country. And the people that first see the being, they're like, what is it, a demon? It's not a human. So they identify it. And there's a lore to demons as well. And part of that lore is that they have cloven feet and they have a really terrible smell like sulfur. And both of these are mentioned many, many times. They come up repeatedly in the video.
Artist Betty Rodriguez creates this drawing.
A gente era filho sempre, foi filho de pessoas católicas, e que podia ser demônio. Então, por isso que a gente ficou com medo na época,
So the three girls run to her house and they say, we saw this creature. We might have been the devil or whatever it was.